Video?
Daddy, video.
Alright. A little bit of change of pace. Today we're going to be making some jalapeno cheddar bacon venison bratwursts. So what I skipped so far is I took a pork shoulder butt ham, or I'm sorry, not a ham, a shoulder butt, a 7-pounder. Deboned that, cut that up into chunks, and then I ran it through a single grind with the venison that I had chunked up. It was about about 7 pounds, and I had about 18 pounds of venison. I like to keep my batches right around 25 pounds because a lot of the seasonings that I buy are meant for 25-pound batches. So what we've done so far is we've cut the pork up. We just kind of throw it in there. We try to mix it up as evenly as we can, but even though this looks really inconsistent on the second grind, it'll even out real well. So what we're going to do now is we have to cut up our jalapenos. I got to rinse these all off really good. We'll cut these up. Basically all I do is just cut the tops off. Cut the tops off, then cut them into rings. And then I'll mix them in with the meat, with the bacon also. And I'll run that through on my second grind. That way the jalapenos stay a little bit more coarse. But the reason I like to grind them in the meat is any of the juices that come out of them while you're grinding goes right into the meat, so you get that good flavor. So we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to cut up our bacon.
No, dear me.
No, this isn't deer meat. This is bacon.
Bacon.
Well, bacon, yep.
Cut. Daddy, dear me. Bacon.
This is bacon. We got this all cut up. We're only adding a pound of bacon. Just give it a little bit of flavor.
Daddy, turn on.
But
Turn on.
I will turn it on in a minute. We gotta get all these peppers cut up.
Bacon cut up.
But I gotta cut up all these peppers.
Pepper.
Yeah.
Cut up. Pepper.
Peppers. Peppers.
Pepper.
Peppers. They smell good.
So good. And dear meat. And dear meat.
Yep, that's deer meat and that's some pork.
Dear meat.
And a little bit of pig meat.
Pig meat. Cut.
Yep.
Happy cut.
I gotta cut all these peppers up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got, for this 25-pound batch, we ran just a little over 2 pounds of jalapenos. And that gives it a good flavor and a little bit of heat also. Okay, we will start our second grind now.
Daddy and Dad.
Daddy's all done cutting peppers up. So what I'll do is I usually throw kind of a handful of peppers up in here. And a little bit of bacon. We'll set this off to the side. And we'll get started. still going to be a little bit of inconsistency in the meat, but we still have to mix in all the seasonings, so we'll get all that corrected once we do our final mixing. Big thing is just try to make it as even as possible, but just know that it's not that crucial if it's not perfect. I ran that last little bit of meat through because I knew there was a bunch of peppers stuck in there. Try to push them out. Alright, so now we have 2 trays that are full of somewhat mixed meat. But we still have to add our seasonings. And then we still need to add our cheese. Cheese gets added last. You can tell this is my mixing pail because it says meat on it. Not to be confused with the car wash pail. So for this recipe I use a pre-made seasoning from a company called Walton's. And I like this seasoning that they have called Blue Ribbon Bratwurst. It adds a nice flavor with the jalapeno and the cheese and that. It gives it a good base. So what I do is I usually start with like a quarter of this. I throw it in there. And then kind of a general rule of thumb that I use is approximately 12 ounces of water per 10 pounds of meat. I usually do 12 ounces because I have these handy dandy measuring cans laying around. So we'll add the first one. We'll mix that up. We'll add some more seasoning, some more water, so on and so forth. Another handy tip is these mixers really come in handy. I like to use this one for drywall, mud, mortar, just about everything. I'm just kidding. This one's dedicated for meat. Okay, it's looking pretty good. $12 more ounces of water. I've found if you don't add enough water, the brats are really dry. So, since these are mostly venison and just a little pork, I always try to make sure there's enough water in them. So you definitely don't want to do this too much. What will end up happening is your meat will get really slimy and sticky. It's already going to get like that a little, but the longer you do this, it turns into more of like a paste. And you want it to be a little bit more coarse for bratwursts. Bratwursts generally have more of a coarse texture. So you want to do this just enough to get the seasonings mixed in. Okay, Seasonings are in. Now I gotta add the cheese. When I do the cheese, I usually go 1 pound of cheese per 10 pounds of meat. Another little tip is I freeze the cheese. That way it stays a little bit harder. That way when you're mixing it, it doesn't break up as easy. And I use high temp cheese when I do this. I've heard that you don't have to, but I've always used high temp. So you can experiment and try using a lower temp cheese if you want, but this is what I do. So this is ghost pepper cheese. We'll weigh out 2.5 pounds. Alright, we got 2.5 pounds of ghost pepper cheese all measured out here. I usually do the same thing that I do with the seasonings, just add some of it in and then do some mixing and then add the rest in. Whew. She got away from me there. So it's got this trigger lock on it, and I can tell you that that's going to get a little irritating. Starting to smell spicy. I have 11 feet of workbench, and it seems like it's not enough. Well, this seems crude, but until I'm able to buy myself a nice electric or hydraulic one, this works just fine. I use a 30 millimeter fresh collagen casing. They seem to hold up pretty good. I've actually never tried the intestines, but I like these because they keep, basically forever, and they seem like they're pretty durable. Okay, this part kind of stinks a little, but this is where it would be nice to have a little bit bigger sausage stuffer. So when you're putting it in there, try to keep your globs a little bit smaller. That way you don't create a bunch of air pockets and you can pack everything nice and tight together. If you put like big giant chunks in, what you'll do is you'll build an air pocket between the chunk that you just put in and then the meat that was already in there. So I put in a little bit smaller chunks, and I always poke it with my fingers and just really pack it down in there so it's nice and tight. The air pockets kind of stink because it'll put a big bubble in your casings, and then it'll give you inconsistency when you're packing your brats. It'll actually inflate your casings like a balloon. So I'll show you really quick the consistency. You can see really well how much there's good green in there, good jalapeno, good cheese. So between the double grind and then when you mix your spices in, it mixes up pretty darn well. Like I say, a little bit smaller on the chunks. Keeping getting air pockets in there really helps a lot. Just pack it in tight with your fingers, and that's less times you have to load this thing too. So like I say, let the meat get started. Just kind of roll it around the edge and you'll feel that meat grab right a hold of that casing. And then just a little bit of tension. You want the casing to be nice and full, but you want it to have lots of wrinkles in it. You don't want to have it packed right full like a balloon. You want to have lots of wrinkles because you're going to be putting a lot of twists in this thing. is actually my last batch of brats for the season. We try to make right around 100 pounds of brats a year for my family. My boys will eat some of it. I eat most of it. But I usually try to do 3 or 4 different flavors. I actually did a jalapeno cheddar. I did a beer and cheddar. I did a mango habanero. And then these, of course, are the jalapeno ghost pepper. Well, that doesn't usually happen, but I guess pretty close on the amount of casing I needed. Okay. So what I usually do is I usually have a little bit of material left in here that I don't want to see go to waste. So what I'll do is I'll push that out. And I'll throw it in one of the bags with the brats, and they'll just cook it up like a little patty. You can make a little burger out of it. Okay, so generally I like to go about 5 inches. And then I take them like this, in between my finger and my hand, and I just kind of squeeze, and you'll make it flat like that, but you'll push the meat out. So then you go about 5 inches, do it again, spin the middle one, come back out, 5 inches. Like I say, you just want to squeeze it out so that you can see through it. You want to get the meat out of that casing. If you leave the meat in there and you go to spin it, you'll blow the casing out. So you just squeeze it like that, spin the middle one. So you skip every other, and then spin. Again, it's just approximately 5 inches. You don't need to be exact. And then you're usually left with 1 or 2 shorties at the end there. So that would be one bundle done. What I'll do is I'll cut those knots in a minute here. I just want to get a few of them ready. About 2 or 3 spins on each link is about all you need. They're going to come undone anyway when you cut them. But I like to do 2 or 3 because that'll tighten up the meat real good. You can go more if you need, if the casing is loose. But at 3 spins you can see the casing is nice and smooth and all the wrinkles are gone. So that's how I like the casing to look. So now what I like to do is, if you have any extra casing hanging off the ends, this is when I'll cut that off. Set that off to the side. And then I'll cut them, and you can see the ends look like that. So I just take them and just tap them. When you put them in the grill, you're going to burn that off anyway. But I like to keep the meat covered up a little bit, because when you vacuum seal them, you don't want the meat getting stuck on the bags as you're trying to slide them in. So like I say, when you are cutting them, you can see your knot. Just try to cut the middle of it. They're gonna untwist, but that's not a big deal. Okay. They usually, I guess I'm not really sure how long they last, but I can tell you that they last at least a year being vacuum sealed. Another nice thing about doing your own is you can put 6 in a package, which actually matches the number of brat buns they give you in a package, rather than only having 5 like the store sells. Usually I just use an acronym. So these are Jalapeno Ghost. So these are JG. Okay, so that's how you do it. That was about 25-ish pounds. When you include the peppers and everything, you're just shy of 30 of jalapeno ghost pepper brats. So hopefully you guys learned something. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching, and we hope you've enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel to see more action in our household.